Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, today we're going to be talking about a story involving Mount St. Helens and these two figures that apparently had a hand in predicting the disaster before it happened. In this article titled, Before Mount St. Helens Eruption, Two Giant White-Robed Watchers Predict the Future Disaster. Let's get into it now and hear exactly how the witness encountered these two beings and what they told him, because it's a truly fascinating story. I told them all about my experience on the mountain and the feeling and the vision I had just had. That's when he began to give me specific details. In 1973, I met two very tall persons, about 8 to 12 feet tall, a man and a woman, on the site of Mount St. Helens. I went there as a prep trip to go canoeing on the, not there now, Spirit Lake, since it was March. I found the lake under snowdrifts, so I went up to the top of the mountain to climb it. As I got out of my VW Super Beetle, I was overcome with fear. Terror gripped me. Try as I might, I could not force myself to cross the parking lot to the beginning of the trail where a family were beginning their ascent. I could not move because the fear within me petrified my body. I then saw in my mind's eye, through my third eye, the mountain blowing up right underneath me. I saw the mountain and the rocks and the trees below me and all around me being superheated and exploding into shreds. I shouted to the family to get out of there because the mountain was about to blow. They looked at me like I was some nut, probably on drugs. I did have long hair in those days. The day was beautiful, clear day, and I quickly realized that the sensation I was receiving was only a premonition of an event to come. I fell back into my car and got out of there. On the way down, I stopped at the lodge where I bought some beer from the owner, Harry Truman, who made a snide comment to me when I stopped to debate getting a bag of chips after buying some beer. I almost with knowing said to him that someday he would die up there with his mountain. I didn't, and I left. Further down the mountain top, as I turned a sharp corner, I passed by two persons who were dressed in white robes. At first glance, I thought they were Hare Krishnas out for a hike, and being 20 miles from Toledo, Wyoming, I pulled over and got out to offer them a ride to town. Immediately, two things happened. First, as I walked up to them, I realized that I had to look up at them like I was looking at the top of a basketball net. That realization freaked me out, but I love an adventure. As I walked up to them, I offered to give them a lift to town. The woman then turned to the man and said quietly, "I thought we were supposed to meet someone here." The man, who also had long hair, only slightly raised his right hand in my direction to indicate that I was the contactee they were waiting for. This point was not lost on me. Next, a car pulled up and asked me if I was all right. Again, my senses told me all was not normal at all. I knew the man and carload of 4 persons, perhaps a man and his wife in the front seat with his daughter and son in the back seat, could not see the tall persons towering over me. I said that I was simply overtaken by the beauty of the scenery and just had to get out and look at it. Slowly, very slowly, they drove away. I had covered for what seemed like me talking to imaginary persons, but they were real, very real. The woman again turned to the man and said, "He can see us," to which he replied, "He's in an altered state of consciousness." Then the man turned to me and said, "You deceived them?" Thinking that I had done them a favor by covering for them, I did not have a ready reply. I then asked them if they wanted to ride to town. I was torn at this point between what I knew about my reality in this dimension and what I knew who were standing before me were beings who were not from this dimension, yet I could not wholly accept that fact. The man turned to the woman and said with a sweeping gesture toward the car, "Shall we?" So they walked to the car. I wanted to tell them about what had just happened on top of Mount St. Helens as they approached my Super Beetle. I knew that they were very, very tall, not normally tall, but way tall and would not fit in my car. I said, "Maybe it's not such a good idea," to which the man replied, "We'll fit fine." Before my eyes, those two beings began to shrink. The man got into the back seat along with the lady, which in our culture, the man would usually get into the front, right? After they got in, the man turned to the woman and said, "Are you okay?" She said, "I'm fine." I needed a beer. I opened a Bud. This was rural backwoods Washington State and 1973, and offered them a beer too. I took in my now normal-sized guest in the back seat of my souped-up Super Beetle. Their robes were somewhat soiled and had dirt marks and signs of wear like they had been hiking through the woods. I did not expect this from what I had come to accept as aliens or some kind of angels. They looked real. The guy had very long fingers, and that's when I saw that, to my surprise, he had 6 fingers on his hands. Since I was driving at the time, the man said in a polite but commanding voice, "Turn around and watch the road," to which I replied as any young 20-year-old who had already totaled 3 cars doing stunts. I'm a good man. I can drive and talk at the same time. What are you drinking? He said. It's a bud, I said. What is that? He said. Beer, alcohol? That's when he said alcohol, that's poison. My guest hesitated for a few seconds before he spoke again. Alcohol is going to cause you a lot of problems in your lifetime. He was right about that. I turned around again to scope out these 2 hitchhikers. The young woman smiled. They both looked to be in their early 30s. She had long brown hair. His hair was as long as hers, which was at least shoulder length. I said, Toledo's 20 miles away. That would have been a long walk, I said. What were you doing on the mountain? He asked. My mind was fighting with the thought now that I just may have 2 aliens who just shapeshifted in size in the back of my car and who just chewed me out for drinking. I was beginning to question my rationality, and what if they wanted to eat me or something? I told them all about my experience on the mountain and the feeling and the vision I had just had. That's when he began to give me specific details about the date and the time eruption of Mount St. Helens. He even told me how many people were going to die up there. About 60 to 70 people will die on that mountain when it erupts, he said. 68 died on May 18th, 1980. 7 years later, I would find myself working for Lewis County as a transporter for senior services. I had something to do with the red zone being established, but that's another story. I had told so many predictions about the mountain that came true before the eruption that one grandma, just after it erupted, said, "You did it. You made that mountain blow up." The alien or whatever said something that triggered a repressed memory I had. He said it would happen because of the flood that we had prevented that year. Then I began to feel real strange about this encounter. I was sure that he could not have known about the topographical map I had drawn in my cabin last year and how I had highlighted in blue everything in the state of Washington under 3,000 feet and wrote a short story about me and my family living on Mount St. Helens Island after the flood, or could he? "Who are you?" I asked. The woman leaned over to him and quietly with her easy smile asked him, "Should we tell him who we are?" "No," he said. Then he said to me, "We're watchers," he said. Right about then I knew I had stepped into a forest I did not know the way through. "I mean, what's your name?" He said his name was, "My name is Grushimian." Forgive me, everyone, for probably mispronouncing that name. Even if I basically heard someone pronounce it correctly, I'm not even sure I could pronounce it right myself, so forgive me for that. I said I would not be able to remember his name, and I didn't for 33 years. Then in a dream, I heard his name as he had spoken it, and my name is Isyu. It's easy to remember. Just think about it this way. Say, "Are you?" and you will remember it. I did remember it. Also, I read something unique about the name Isyu, and a significance about that name. But again, I can't place what that importance is. You guys know? Of all the wonderful questions I could have asked them, I failed to do so. I still beat myself up for letting a great opportunity slip through my fingers out of a primal fear of the unknown. We were about 10 miles out of Toledo, Washington, by then, and Grushimon said, "Pull over here, and when we get out, don't look back." So I pulled over and let them out, and of course as I pulled away, I looked back to see them grow back to their 10-ish or so feet height and then vanish. Later the next year, in a total accident, I was pinned inside my Super Beetle on a bridge over a river with no way out, not knowing how to swim. I was lifted out of the window and flown out over the river. I was set down in front of a car, and the driver took me to the hospital. "Who are you?" she asked. "I'm just a man," I replied. "It's all that any of us can be, A." Do you think this story is true, folks? It has many things in it that corroborate other stories I've heard about over the years, but it is certainly very strange. Either way, a truly intriguing tale that leaves us with many questions, and perhaps one day those questions will be answered. Either way, folks, we're at the end of this video, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. There are other links to Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, Dark Saints, Wobbit Co-op, and stitched together pics. And remember, I upload exclusive videos to Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute that I do not upload to YouTube. If you want to see them, use those links down below in the descriptions or the chat, and go subscribe to my channels up on those websites. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell. That will give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.